For many, Murray Gold is the sound of Doctor Who. He composed for the show from its return in 2005 all the way through to 2017, before returning for the 60th anniversary specials and beyond, meaning that as of 2024 he has composed for 2 showrunners, 3 eras of the show and 7 Doctors, so the man has written his fair share of music. But it's much more than just sheer quantity that makes Murray's music so synonymous with the modern series. Over his years on the show, Gold has produced not only some of the most iconic and recognisable pieces of music made for Doctor Who, but for all of television. This is in part due to his distinct style. Influenced by the works of Ennio Morricone and Danny Elfman, Murray intentionally creates more melodic scores. Listen to how he talks about how he got the gig on Russell T Davies' Queer as Folk.
They said, who's around who doesn't write, this is one of those things, who doesn't write TV music? We just don't want TV music. I think what they mean is they don't want stuff that just fills in the holes. They want tunes and melodies and things like that.
This perfectly describes Murray's style. He creates melodies that stick in your head and conjure up the image of their associated character or setting or scene whenever you hear them. He certainly isn't a composer that is content with writing something to just fill the gaps. As Russell T Davies puts it here,
he's just unafraid to go for the big stuff, to go to the heart of it, to go for the accuracy, to go for full-blooded emotion. There's no fear in the music at all, and I think that's what makes it huge and epic and really, really special.
So this is how Murray Gold writes a theme. Chris Eccleston's Doctor was a character defined by his grief. He's a broken man, haunted by the part he played in the extinction of his people, forming a hardened exterior to cover the deep sense of pain and guilt that he carries with him. The Doctor's theme is associated with the darkness, secrecy and pain of the character. It's written in the key of D minor, described by some as being serious and pious, or melancholy and brooding. Although the whole idea of certain keys denoting certain moods has been debunked. For example, I Am the Doctor is also in D minor. As is this. So whilst the description does fit here, it's not a sure thing. We get this haunting vocal line. Conveying the Doctor's pain and loss after the Time War, showing the true vulnerability of this character. And the piece is pretty much just that vocal melody, with a subtle accompanying string line and very sparse piano and woodwind parts near the end. Fittingly, it's a very lonely piece of music. The melody is sprawled out across the time signature and performed with rubato, meaning to not strictly conform to the tempo and allow the performance to be more expressive. It's in common 4/4 time, but the tune spills over onto other bars, showing this deep, beautiful soul of the music that flows and isn't forced into a rigid structure, like the emotion is breaking out of its shell. It also feels really mysterious and alien, fittingly used for scenes such as the Turn of the Earth speech in Rose, which is its first use in the series. The Doctor walks back to the TARDIS alone, leaving Rose and the audience to contemplate the mystery of who he really is. Although the melody line of the B section can be heard in The End of the World, the first time we hear it in full with the accompanying strings is in the finale of The Parting of the Ways, when the Doctor releases the power of the time vortex after saving Rose, the culmination of this character's arc and his theme. Although the Doctor's theme is most closely associated with the Ninth Doctor, the main leitmotif has been used for moments involving almost all of the modern series Doctors. It was used frequently with the 10th Doctor, more on that in a moment. It can be heard in 11's Pandorica speech in the track called Words Win Wars. Listen to the low brass line here. It appears in The Day of the Doctor, when the Moment is talking to the War Doctor about his punishment. And in another barn scene from Hell Bent, where the woman recognises the 12th Doctor. It scores the 13th Doctor's first moments in Twice Upon a Time, and more recently we heard a new version of it for the 14th Doctor in the 60th anniversary specials. Gold composed a new version of the Doctor's theme for Series 4. It was a fuller, almost more complete theme, with full orchestration. We get additional string, woodwind, brass and percussion lines, plus a full choir replacing the one solo vocalist. It's as if that original motif of pain and loneliness is somewhat transformed into a triumphant statement by the character, as though that pain has informed the person he is, allowing him to become the hero of the Doctor. And it's that same more triumphant tone that's hinted at in the Parting of the Ways. Gold first begins with the original piece, then moves to a couple of new additional sections as we build up to this big, swelling rendition of the theme's main melody. And it's that main melody that is incorporated into Valet de Chiem, the piece that accompanies the 10th Doctor's regeneration. And a variation of the theme is also used in Turn Left, where the vocal melody has some delay and distortion effects added, giving it this even more ghostly, haunting quality. It feels almost broken and incomplete, which is perfect for a parallel world without the Doctor. Used from Series 3 onwards, the Doctor Forever largely replaced the Doctor's theme as the character's main leitmotif until its return in Series 4, and this was very much the main theme for the 10th Doctor specifically. The first half of the piece is very mysterious, stylistically quite similar to the Doctor's theme. It's got that similar yearning choral vocal line, and some almost Celtic elements, particularly in the vocal performance. It uses the scale of E Dorian, giving a slightly bittersweet, wistful sound. It has some darkness, but there's also some hope in there too. And it has a much warmer quality than the Doctor's theme. The melody line ascends rather than descends. And it slowly builds, gradually adding more choral, string, woodwind and brass lines. The theme seems to connote something ethereal, wisdom and justice. And then around the halfway point, we get a new section. We shift to a faster tempo and move away from those long, flowing melodies of the first half, trading it for shorter note lengths, supported by a more prominent percussion section. When the full orchestra kicks in, you get this real sense of the swashbuckler, and Gold says as much himself.
He announced himself in the Christmas Invasion and he said, "I'm a fighting doctor." So his music became dun 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 dun, and all became very swashbuckling.
It features lots of triplet rhythms, which gives this sense of wanting to run, a kind of galloping. Coincidentally, or perhaps not, the Master's drumming rhythm, also introduced in Series 3, is a phrase consisting of 4 triplet notes. As is the opening of the show's main theme tune. This piece also incorporates elements of All the Strange Creatures. They're almost like different sides of the same coin, the themes for the hero and for the villains. We also get hints to it in all 3 of the 60th anniversary specials for the 14th Doctor. And as a whole, I think this piece is a good summation of where Gold took the show's score for Series 3 and beyond. Where the first 2 series were very mysterious and alien, Series 3 took on a more action-orientated and adventurous tone, with some darker elements thrown in there, which is reflected in Murray's music. It should come as no surprise to anyone familiar with the 11th Doctor era that I Am the Doctor appears in some form in every episode of Matt Smith's tenure. making it the most recurring musical motif in the show aside from the main theme itself. The frequent use of the theme garnered a fair amount of mockery from fans, with many complaining that it's overused in the episodes. And I do understand this. However, I Am the Doctor is great, and I feel it's a shame that those complaints of overuse have somewhat overshadowed the actual quality of the piece. This really is a great character theme. The main motif of the piece is written in 7/4 time. It's a little bit wobbly and not quite steady on its feet, just like Matt's Doctor. Here's the original in 7/4 compared to how it would sound if it were in 4/4 time. Some people have suggested that this time signature is a deliberate choice, given that this is 11's theme. This is probably a little bit of a stretch, but it's a cool coincidence regardless. The piece uses lots of strings and woodwind, evoking that fairy tale tone that was associated with this character in the era. It's a big, epic action-adventure theme, but it also has little whimsical moments. Kooky, offbeat sections. And big, triumphant flourishes. Effectively surmising all the various elements of the 11th Doctor's character all in one piece of music. There are some really interesting variations of the theme that appear throughout the series, adapted to reflect different settings, genres, and tones. Hints of this theme can be heard in the piece titled The New Doctor, which accompanies the 11th Doctor's first moments in The End of Time. But what seems to be the original seed of the idea actually appears in Gold's score for Silence of the Library. And fun fact, it has also been used as opening music for the French version of the Great British Bake Off.
Bienvenue pour une soirée surprenante qui va vous transporter au camping du meilleur pâtissier.
Which isn't particularly relevant. Next. The Madman with a Box was a sort of supplementary theme for the 11th Doctor, particularly during his time with Amy. It adopts that same fairy tale tone with that lovely woodwind melody and twinkling chimes in the background. This woodwind melody descends gracefully like raindrops or falling down the rabbit hole, countered by the main vocal melody that ascends as we see the magic of the Doctor's world unfold. Interestingly, this piece makes use of notes not actually found in the scale, using all 12 notes instead of the usual 8, which gives it this slightly odd, out of place feeling in some parts, fitting for the scenes it's used in. 12's theme begins with this very dark, ominous soundscape. It's very atmospheric and tense. And then we get this almost fairy tale melody. With a playful, light questioning tone, in parts very similar to Clara's theme. Before the drums roll in. Paired with that subtle synth bass line along with that repeated string motif, going back and forth between the notes. All showing this intensity of the character, the perceived darkness and ferocity of this Doctor. But underneath all of that, we get the counter melody. Grand, heroic brass line rising from below. The good man. Death in Heaven features a track called The Majestic Tale of an Idiot with a Box that is a sort of combination of both 11 and 12's themes. Its title is a play on a variation of I Am the Doctor first included on the Series 6 soundtrack, The Majestic Tale of a Madman in a Box. It accompanies the Doctor's epiphany, the answer to the question he's been asking over the course of the series, and the one that his theme is named after. Am I a good man? And almost as if in reply to the question, Gold features elements of I Am the Doctor. This is such a great little detail from Gold, and one that I hadn't actually ever noticed until doing research for this video. It's almost like the musical equivalent of that scene from the end of Deep Breath, where we're assured that this is still the Doctor. He is the same man. And Gold is showing us this through not just his music, but the actual titles of the tracks themselves. It's a really clever background detail that further supports the thematic arc for both the narrative and the character. And last but not least, we have our incumbent Doctor, the 15th. And this theme is quickly becoming one of my favourites. 15 launches straight into this semi-quaver marching snare rhythm, with this repetitive, bouncy bass clarinet phrase keeping the pulse. It's exciting, it's energetic. I've seen it compared to Barry Gray's themes for the Jerry Anderson shows, like Thunderbirds and Stingray. We get some big, heroic sounding chords from the brass and strings, plus some nice phrases that climb up the scale. It feels quite John Williams-esque in parts, particularly his 70s Superman theme. And similar to I Am the Doctor, we get little whimsical, cascading woodwind flourishes peppered throughout. The main melody line is this playful little sequence that jumps back and forth over 4 notes, like the 15th Doctor hopping over rooftops. And the secondary melody that appears in sections either side of this uses those exact same notes. There's a nice low brass line that moves up and down the scale in a similar manner to Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. And just a side note, I love the live version of this from this year's proms, especially that ending with those warbling electric guitars and that rocking drum kit part with the offbeat snare and the tom fills, and gorgeous, so good. So there you have it, a little bit of armchair musical analysis on 7 of Murray Gold's Doctor themes. I know this video topic might be a little bit niche, but I've really enjoyed making it. I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and if you have, I'd really appreciate it if you could show it a little bit of love and share it with anyone you think might be interested. But thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you again sometime. Cheers.